What if the rule book wasn't the same for everyone? In Formula One, every tenth of a second matters. Teams spend hundreds of millions designing cars, hiring the best engineers, studying every regulation, because one misread rule can cost you a championship. But what happens when the rules seem to bend? For one team in particular. Over the past 6 years, a pattern has quietly built inside the F1 paddock. A pattern that rivals have noticed. This is the story of Mercedes and 5 moments that changed the sport. It's February 2020, pre-season testing in Barcelona, and Mercedes rolls out something nobody has ever seen before. A steering wheel that drivers could push and pull while the car was moving to change the toe angle of the front wheels. DAS, dual axis steering. On the surface, it sounds like a small trick, but what it actually did was let Hamilton and Bottas heat their tyres perfectly on every single straight, an advantage no other team had, and no other team could even copy mid-season because it was too deeply baked into the car's architecture. Red Bull protested. Ferrari asked for a formal ruling. The FIA looked at it and said, "It's legal. Mercedes can race it." Fine. Controversial, but fine. Except here's the part that doesn't sit right. Before the 2021 season even started, the FIA quietly banned it. So the device was legal enough to help win a championship, but not legal enough to exist a single year later. And that might just be a coincidence. Except, this wasn't the only time something like this happened. Because 2 years later, the FIA did something that made the entire grid furious. It's 2022. Brand new regulations. Ground effect cars. Every team had spent years preparing for this moment. Red Bull, Ferrari, Alpine, everyone had done their homework. Mercedes got it catastrophically wrong. Their car porpoised so violently that Lewis Hamilton could barely walk out of it after races. And instead of quietly fixing the car, Mercedes went public, loudly, campaigning on safety. The FIA responded with Technical Directive 039, mid-season, new floor stiffness rules, a new aerodynamic oscillation metric, changes that targeted the exact problem Mercedes had created for themselves. Red Bull had got it right. Ferrari had got it right. They had made the correct engineering call from day one, and now, mid-championship, the rules were shifting to help the team that hadn't. Was there a genuine safety concern? Honestly, yes. Porpoising was brutal on the drivers, and it was real. But the speed of that directive, and the fact that the team lobbying hardest benefited most, rivals haven't forgotten that. And speaking of things rivals haven't forgotten, there's one story in particular that cuts deeper than any of this. Now let's back to 2019. Ferrari had the fastest engine on the grid. Straight line speed nobody could touch. Teams complained, the FIA investigated, and what followed was unusual. A private settlement. The other teams weren't even told what the conclusion was, just that it was resolved. What came next was a technical directive that quietly strangled Ferrari's engine advantage overnight. 2 years of damage, 2 years of a midfield-level car on a championship team's budget. Now let's talk about Mercedes in the same era. Their split turbo engine layout, compressor and turbine on opposite ends of the engine, bridged by the MGUH, was genuinely revolutionary. The FIA looked at it and let it race. For 3 years, while rivals scrambled just to understand what Mercedes had even built. Then fast forward to 2026. Ferrari proposed a floor concept to the FIA months before the season. Did everything right, asked permission, submitted the design, waited. The FIA said no. Mercedes showed up at the opening race running essentially the same concept, and the FIA let them race it, for multiple Grand Prix before issuing a clarification ahead of Austria. Ferrari asked, Ferrari was told no. Mercedes did it anyway and got away with it for weeks. That's not a grey area, and it's not the only time a small technical detail ended up telling a much bigger story. When the 2022 cars launched, Mercedes arrived with mirror mounting stays that were wing-shaped. They weren't just holding mirrors up, they were conditioning airflow around the side pods, generating an aerodynamic effect. Ferrari flagged it, Red Bull flagged it. The FIA reviewed it and cleared it. Now here's what makes that interesting. Go back to 2019. Ferrari had mounted their mirrors onto the halo structure. The FIA decided the mounting was serving an aerodynamic purpose and banned it almost immediately. Same logic, same principle, completely opposite outcome. The FIA is a huge organisation. It's not one person calling these things. But when you line up the outcomes side by side, the pattern is uncomfortable. Which brings us to the most recent one, and honestly, the one that feels the most symbolic. Austria, June 2026. Final seconds of Q3. Verstappen crashes at turn 9, track partially blocked. The standard response, the protocol, is double waved yellows, which means you abort your flying lap. Full stop, no exceptions. George Russell was on his fastest lap, but the Marshall system was too slow to upgrade from a single yellow to double, so Russell only saw the single flag. Under a single yellow, you just need to lift. So he did, lost about a tenth and got straight back on power, pole position. Leclerc had abandoned his lap the moment he heard about the crash. Red Bull did the same. They did what most people would call the right thing, and they paid for it. Russell followed the flag that was shown to him. I want to be completely clear, that's not on him. He did nothing wrong by the letter of the rules. But the FIA's system failed. Their marshalling was too slow. And the person who benefited from that failure happened to be in a Mercedes. If you're sitting in the Ferrari or Red Bull garage watching that, and you've watched everything we've just walked through, how many times does it have to happen before the question stops being uncomfortable and starts being necessary? So let's just look at what we walked through. DAS, legal for one season, banned the next. TD039, rules rewritten mid-championship because Mercedes got their car wrong. Mirror stays, cleared for Mercedes, banned for Ferrari doing the exact same thing. 2026 flaw, Ferrari asked permission and got told no. Mercedes did it anyway and scored points for weeks. Austria, the FIA's own system fails and the beneficiary is in a Mercedes. 5 incidents, 5 different years, 1 direction. I'm not calling it corruption. I'm not calling it a conspiracy. But in a sport where a tenth of a second decides everything, when the same team keeps landing on the right side of every single close call, at some point the coincidence argument just doesn't hold up anymore. So here's the real question. Is the FIA genuinely neutral? Or has the world's most expensive sport quietly been running on an uneven playing field this whole time? Leave your answer below, because I think this conversation is way bigger than one video. Subscribe if you're not already. See you in the next one.